In the quiet village of Nandapur, surrounded by rolling hills and gentle rivers, lived a wealthy landowner named Rajan Mehra. Known for his generosity and wisdom, Rajan was respected by everyone in the village. However, despite his success and honor, he carried a deep concern in his heart. His only son, Aarav. Aarav had grown up in comfort, shielded from hardship and responsibility. Over time, he became idle and unmotivated, showing no interest in studies or future goals. While other boys of his age were focused on school or learning a trade, Aarav spent his days wandering aimlessly with his friends, wasting time and ignoring his father's advice. Rajan often urged him to study, to prepare for a meaningful life, but Aarav would reply, "Why should I study when we are already rich?" His dismissive attitude deeply hurt Rajan, who feared for his son's future. Aarav saw his father's concern as interference, not love. Even Rajan's wife Meena tried to reassure him that Aarav would change with time, but Rajan knew they had spoiled their son for too long. One evening, after much reflection, Rajan made a difficult decision. He and Meena agreed to send Aarav away, far from distractions and his carefree friends. They planned to enroll him under the guidance of Acharya Dev Sharma, a wise and disciplined teacher who lived in a nearby village. Rajan hoped that under the Acharya's mentorship, Aarav would begin to understand the true value of knowledge, hard work, and self-discipline. That night in their home, Rajan Mehra sat in silence, his mind weighed down by worry. Watching his son Aarav waste his days without purpose filled him with sadness and frustration. If he continues like this, Rajan thought, what kind of future will he have? No amount of gentle reminders or serious talks had worked. Aarav simply refused to listen. Just then Meena, his wife, entered the room. She noticed the heavy look on Rajan's face and sat beside him. "Still thinking about Aarav?" she asked softly. Rajan nodded. "He's our only child, Meena. I love him more than anything. But he's drifting further away from what's right. We pampered him when he was younger, but now he's grown. He needs to learn the value of discipline, purpose, and knowledge. If we don't act now, I'm afraid we'll lose him to laziness and pride." Meena sighed. "I know. I've watched him ignore your words and dismiss your concern. But maybe you're right, it's time for something to change. What do you have in mind?" Rajan looked at her, his expression firm. "We must send him away from this environment. He needs distance from us, from his friends, from all this comfort. He must experience a life that teaches him responsibility. I believe the only way is to place him under the guidance of Acharya Dev Sharma. His ashram is not far from here, and I've heard how much his students grow in wisdom and character. But can we bear to send him away?" Meena asked hesitantly. "He is our son." Rajan placed his hand on hers. "It's out of love that we must do this. Aarav doesn't see it now, but one day he will. Let's reach out to Acharya Dev Sharma. If anyone can guide our son toward the right path, it's him." Meena, though emotional, agreed. For the first time in many weeks, Rajan felt a flicker of hope. Later that evening, Aarav returned home after yet another day spent aimlessly with his friends. As he entered the house, he saw his mother, Meena, sitting alone, lost in thought. "Ma, have you eaten? Or were you waiting for me?" he asked casually. Meena smiled faintly. "How could I eat without you, my dear? Come, let's have our meal together." As they sat down, Aarav hesitated for a moment, then asked, "Ma, this morning I overheard you and Papa talking. Something about sending me away. Are you planning to get rid of me because I don't like studying?" Meena reached out and held his hand gently. "No, my child. We're not getting rid of you. We're giving you an opportunity. Your father and I want you to go study at Acharya Dev Sharma's ashram in the neighboring village. He's a wise and patient teacher. Many children have gone there and come back transformed. Aarav frowned. But Ma, you know I'm not interested in books or lectures. Why force me? Meena spoke with warmth and calm. We're not forcing you to change overnight. All we ask is that you go there, observe, and experience the environment. If you truly don't like it, you can return. But go with an open mind. For me, if not for anyone else. Aarav was silent. He didn't want to study, but he couldn't bear to disappoint his mother. Finally, he nodded. Okay, Ma, we'll go. But only because you asked me to. And also to get away from Papa's constant lectures. Meena smiled with quiet relief. She knew this small step could be the turning point. The next morning, Rajan sent word to Acharya Dev Sharma, informing him of Aarav's arrival. Preparations were made, and by the following day, father and son were ready to leave for the ashram, one with hope in his heart, the other with indifference. The journey to Acharya Dev Sharma's ashram was long and quiet. Aarav sat beside his father, Rajan, gazing out at the passing fields, lost in his thoughts. Though he had agreed to go, his heart remained closed to the idea of studying. All he wanted was distance from his father's constant pressure. Upon arrival at the ashram, they were warmly greeted by Acharya Dev himself, a calm and dignified man in his late 50s, and his wife Lakshmi, along with their young son Ishan. The ashram was modest but peaceful, surrounded by trees, with the sound of birds and a soft breeze whispering through the courtyard. Rajan folded his hands and bowed. Acharyaji, this is my son Aarav. I leave him in your care, with the hope that you can guide him to become wise and responsible. Acharya Dev smiled kindly and nodded. Rest assured. He will learn here, not just from books but from life itself. After Rajan left, Acharya Dev turned to Aarav and said, From tomorrow, your training will begin. You'll follow the ashram's routine. Wake up early, participate in prayers, studies, chores. Everything must be done by yourself. This is a place of self-discipline. Aarav frowned. Why is everyone always telling me what to do? First my father, now you. I came here to get away from all that. Acharya Dev's expression remained calm, but his voice firm. This is not your home where you can do as you please. Here, you will either learn discipline or face the consequences. Reluctantly, Aarav followed the routine. He didn't want to return home and admit failure, so he half-heartedly obeyed Acharya's instructions. Every task, from cleaning his space to reciting verses, felt like a burden. Over time, he began to resent the ashram and especially his guru, whom he saw as just another authority figure pushing him. Yet, beneath his frustration, something had begun to shift. Though Aarav didn't realize it yet, the seeds of change were being quietly sown. A few weeks passed at the ashram, and Aarav remained reluctant, following Acharya Dev's instructions only to avoid returning home. Every day he was assigned to memorize ancient verses or shlokas, but he rarely gave them any real effort. When questioned, he would shrug or mumble excuses. One day, Acharya Dev told him firmly, Aarav, I asked you to memorize yesterday's shloka. Have you done it? No, Guruji, Aarav replied, barely meeting his gaze. This is the third time you've ignored your task, the Acharya said sternly. Today, as punishment, you must write and recite the same shloka 100 times. The punishment frustrated Aarav, but he accepted it without argument. His resentment toward the Acharya grew. He doesn't care about me, Aarav thought. He just wants to control me like my father. Then came an unexpected turn. One morning, Acharya Dev informed him, Lakshmi and I are going to a wedding in the nearby village. While we're away, you will be responsible for my son, Ishan. Make sure he memorizes his verses. Don't let him waste time." Aarav was surprised by this trust. "Yes, Guruji. I'll take care of him." The moment Acharya and Lakshmi left, Ishan pleaded, "Bia, can I go play first? I'll study later." "No," Aarav replied, mimicking the firmness he had received. "You'll study first, then play." But Ishan kept resisting, running around the yard, laughing and ignoring the lessons. Aarav grew increasingly frustrated. After 4 days of failed attempts, he finally lost his temper and slapped Ishan across the cheek. The boy froze in shock, eyes wide and watery. He ran inside without another word. Aarav stood still, stunned at what he'd done. "What have I done? I hit Guruji's son." Guilt gripped him. Yet, within an hour, he noticed something strange. Ishan had opened his book and was reciting the shloka quietly to himself. The next day, when Acharya returned, Ishan ran to his mother, crying, "Mama, Bia hit me." But instead of anger, Acharya looked thoughtfully at Aarav and said, "I gave you responsibility, and you tried your best. Discipline in learning is hard. Let us talk." Something was shifting. Aarav didn't know it yet, but the slap had awakened more than just obedience in Ishan. It had begun to stir responsibility in himself. The days that followed the incident with Ishan marked a turning point for Aarav. At first, he was consumed with guilt. He couldn't shake the image of Ishan's shocked expression when he slapped him, nor the weight of his own actions. But slowly, something began to change within him. He started noticing the difference in his approach toward learning. The realization crept in that his actions, though harsh, had gotten Ishan to focus. More importantly, it was the first time in a long while that Aarav felt a sense of accomplishment. As the days went on, the structure of the ashram began to have an effect on him. The regular training, the constant focus on discipline, and the simplicity of life there made him reflect on his own behavior and his past resistance to learning. Acharya Dev continued to guide him, not with force, but with patience, and gradually, Aarav began to see that the lessons weren't about memorizing shlokas or obeying orders. They were about understanding the deeper truths of life, wisdom, and self-discipline. One evening, after a long day of study, Aarav sat quietly, reflecting on the harshness of his earlier attitude toward his father and the lessons he had ignored. It dawned on him that his father, Raghav, had only wanted the best for him. He thought about the countless times his father had tried to push him toward discipline and learning, and how he had resisted every single effort. It was clear now. His father wasn't the enemy. He had always been trying to help him grow. The realization hit Aarav hard. He had been blind to his father's love and guidance. He now understood that his father's insistence on his education wasn't about forcing him into a job or a life path. It was about helping him gain wisdom so he could live a meaningful life. Aarav had spent so long resisting his father's advice, thinking it was a burden, when in fact it was a gift. That night, Aarav sat down and wrote a letter to his father, something he had never thought to do before. He poured his heart out, apologizing for his stubbornness and promising to change. He finally realized what truly mattered: education, discipline, and respect for the people who loved him. As the days passed in the ashram, Aarav underwent a profound transformation. The strict discipline and focused routine were challenging at first, but over time, they shaped his character in ways he hadn't anticipated. The teachings of Acharya Dev began to sink in, and Aarav realized that true wisdom didn't just come from books, but from living with purpose, discipline, and humility. He learned to appreciate the values of patience, hard work, and dedication, values that had once seemed foreign to him. The relationship with his fellow students, especially Ishan, also began to evolve. Aarav no longer saw him as a responsibility or a rival. Instead, they started learning together, supporting each other, and sharing their struggles. Ishan's earlier reluctance had turned into a desire for growth, just as Aarav had experienced. The two young men became more than just fellow students. They became friends who encouraged each other on their journey of self-improvement. One day, as Aarav sat in the peaceful surroundings of the ashram, reflecting on his journey, he realized how far he had come. His arrogance and resistance to learning had given way to a quiet confidence and deep respect for his studies. The lessons that once seemed like a burden had now become a path to enlightenment. When the time came for Aarav to return home, he was no longer the same person who had left. He returned to his parents as a wiser, more thoughtful individual, eager to share what he had learned. His father, Raghav, welcomed him with open arms, proud of the transformation he had undergone. Aarav now understood the true value of education, not just for a career, but for the development of character and the pursuit of a meaningful life. The story ends here. Please share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. We'd love to hear your story. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Voxatales to explore more inspiring and engaging content with us. Have a wonderful day, and see you in the next video.